Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And this time you sent over something that I gotta admit I've been geeking out about for days.
Oh, yeah.
Disney villain songs.
Uh-huh.
It's just so clever how Disney can make us like root for the bad guys even as they're, plotting to take over the world or steal puppies.
Yeah, it's the music, you
Yeah.
know? It has this sneaky way of getting under our skin and making us feel things that we didn't expect. And Disney, they're masters at it, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh,
Y Using music to make even the most wicked characters seem almost appealing.
it's true. So, okay, for this deep dive, you sent me this awesome podcast episode from Disney Fans Down Under
Huh?
where they count down their top 10 Disney villain songs,
Yes.
and we are going to take our own deep dive into their list.
I love it.
I am so ready. Let's do
It's
it.
all right, let's unpack these villainous tunes.
Okay, so kicking off the list at number 10 is Friends on the Other Side from The Princess and the Frog. Dr. Facilier the Shadow Man with his creepy green eyes and that voice. Oh man, chills. The Down Under folks were surprised by how catchy this song is, even though it's basically about Dr. Facilier luring people into making bad deals.
Well, what's fascinating here is how the song uses Dixieland jazz, a style deeply rooted in the history of New Orleans, to create this aura of mystery and danger around Dr. Facilier. And when you combine that with the visuals of the swirling spirits, it's like you're getting pulled into his world just like his victim.
Oh, it's totally hypnotic. Okay, next up at number 9, we have Mother Knows Best from Tangled. Now, this one's interesting because it's not your typical, like, evil villain song. The podcast host actually described it as amusing and unsettling at the same time, which I totally get.
Right, Gothel is a master manipulator. She uses this deceptively sweet melody and lyrics that seem caring on the surface, but underneath it all, she's guilt-tripping and isolating Rapunzel. It's like a musical version of gaslighting.
Totally. If Mother Gothel is all about subtle manipulation, our number 8 pick, Be Prepared, is the opposite. It's Scar from The Lion King, laying out his evil plan in all its glory. The Down Under hosts were obsessed with Jeremy Irons' voice in
Oh,
this.
absolutely. Irons delivers this Shakespearean-style monologue, and the music just builds and builds as Scar reveals his ambitions. It's like watching Iago from Othello come to life with hyenas instead of soldiers. The way the lyrics escalate, the way he manipulates the hyenas, it's pure theatrical villainy.
And speaking of theatrical villains who manipulate, let's talk about Ursula. At number 7, it's Poor Unfortunate Souls from The Little Mermaid. I mean, who hasn't found themselves kind of agreeing with her when she sings, Life's full of tough choices.
Ursula's brilliance lies in her ability to disguise a terrible deal as a dream come true. The cabaret-style music, her seductive voice, and those cleverly worded lyrics. She almost makes you forget that she's a sea witch who steals voices. It's a reminder that the most dangerous villains are often the ones who seem the most understanding.
Oh, for sure. They lure you in with that false sense of security. Okay, number 6 is one that threw me for a loop at first, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. I mean, it's a super catchy song, but the podcast host pointed out how it subtly reveals Gaston's toxic masculinity and narcissism.
Exactly. It starts off as this boisterous, almost comical ode to self-love. But as it goes on, you realize it's really about Gaston's inflated ego and sense of entitlement. And that becomes even more apparent as he uses the song to rally the townspeople against the beast, twisting their fear into a weapon.
Yeah, it's like you can see the mob mentality taking shape right there in the song. And that actually leads us perfectly to our number 5 pick, the Mob Song, also from Beauty and the Beast. The Down Under crew said it was one of the most unsettling Disney songs because it captures the darkness of mob mentality so perfectly.
What's chilling about this song is that it shows how easily fear and prejudice, especially when fueled by a manipulative leader like Gaston, can turn ordinary people into a dangerous mob. The music becomes increasingly frantic, reflecting the growing chaos and violence.
Yeah, it's like the song itself is a warning about the dangers of letting fear and anger cloud our judgment. All right, ready for number 4?
Yeah.
It's Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians, which is interesting because it's one of the few villain songs that isn't actually sung by the villain.
Right. This song is sung about Cruella, and it's like a musical warning label. The jazzy style perfectly captures her over-the-top personality, glamorous but with a dark edge. The Down Under folks loved how it instantly conjures up a picture of her, even without her actually singing a note.
All right, we're getting into the top 3 now. Coming in at number 3 is Prince Ali Reprise from Aladdin. This is where Jafar takes what was originally a joyful, celebratory song and twists it into something cruel and sinister.
It's all about Jafar's need to humiliate Aladdin. He takes this song that was meant to celebrate Aladdin's arrival and turns it into a weapon, using it to expose his true identity and strip him of his newfound status. The way he mocks the lyrics, the way the music becomes distorted and menacing, it's like he's reveling in Aladdin's downfall.
Okay, I'm already getting chills thinking about our number two pick, Hellfire, from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I have to say, this is one of the most intense Disney songs, period. The Down Under hosts were blown away by how it dives into the darkest corners of Frollo's mind.
This song isn't just about Frollo's obsession with Esmeralda. It's about his internal struggle with his own twisted desires. He's a man of faith who's consumed by lust, and the song uses religious imagery to highlight this hypocrisy. The chanting, the Latin lyrics, the way the music builds to this frenzied climax, it's both captivating and deeply disturbing.
All right, we've reached the top spot, and Disney fans down under chose Savages from Pocahontas as their number one Disney villain song. What's interesting about this one is that it's not just a villain song. It's sung by both the English settlers and the Native Americans, and it captures the fear and prejudice on both sides.
It's such a powerful commentary on the clash of cultures and how fear can turn people against each other. The music blends English hymns and Native American chants, and as the tensions escalate, the singing becomes more aggressive, reflecting the descent into violence.
It's definitely a song that stays with you, and it makes you think about how quickly we can label others as savages based on our own fear and ignorance. Okay, so we've made it through the entire top 10 list. What a wild ride through the world of Disney villainy.
It's amazing how much depth there is to these songs. And it makes you realize that even villains have stories to tell.
Absolutely. So what are your thoughts so far? Anything standing out to you as we wrap up this part of our deep dive?
I'm struck by how many of these songs use catchy melodies to deliver pretty dark messages. It makes you wonder about the subtle ways that music can influence our emotions and even our perceptions of good and evil.
That's a great point. And it's something we'll definitely be exploring further in part two of this deep dive. We'll be unpacking the common threads in these songs, looking at how they manipulate our emotions, and discussing their role in the broader context of their respective films. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into these wickedly catchy Disney villain songs. I don't know about you, but I've had Be Prepared stuck in my head ever since we started talking about these tunes.
Oh my gosh, me too. It's crazy how these songs like worm their way into your brain, even when they're sung by, well, villains.
Yeah.
But that's what we're unpacking today, right?
Yeah.
How do these songs work their magic on us?
Exactly. One thing that struck me as we went through the list is how many of these songs, like Poor Unfortunate Souls or Friends on the Other Side, are all about making bad deals seem appealing.
It's so true. Like, I know Ursula's deal is bad news for Ariel, but I still find myself like tapping my foot along to that song.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like Disney is using music to lower our defenses, making us more open to the villain's message.
It's like a musical Trojan horse for villainy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes these songs so fascinating. They reveal how manipulation works, how someone can use charm and charisma to exploit our desires and fears.
Okay, so we're seeing this theme of manipulation popping up in a lot of these songs. But what else do these songs tell us about the villains themselves?
Well, they often give us a glimpse into the villain's backstory, their motivations, the experiences that shaped them into who they are, like Hellfire, for example. Without that song, Frollo would just seem like a one-dimensional religious zealot. But the song reveals his internal struggle, his obsession with Esmeralda, his twisted sense of morality.
It's like Hellfire humanizes Frollo, even though he's doing some pretty terrible things.
Right.
It reminds us that villains aren't just born evil. They're often shaped by their experiences, just like anyone else.
Exactly. And I think that complexity makes the villains more interesting and frankly more relatable. I mean, who hasn't felt tempted by something they knew wasn't good for them?
That is true. Okay, so these songs are pulling back the curtain on the villains, showing us their motivations and even their vulnerabilities. But what about the bigger picture? How do these songs fit into the overall messages and themes of their respective films?
Well, they often serve as a counterpoint to the hero's journey. For example, in The Little Mermaid, Poor Unfortunate Souls tempts Ariel with a quick fix to her problems, highlighting the dangers of giving up your voice and your true self for something that seems too good to be true.
Right. It's like the villain's song is a warning, not just to the hero, but to us as viewers, too. It's saying, hey, look out for these temptations, these shortcuts. They might seem appealing, but they'll cost you in the end.
And in Beauty and the Beast, the mob song shows how easily fear and prejudice can be manipulated by someone like Gaston, leading to violence and destruction. It's a reminder that we all have the potential to be swept up in mob mentality, especially when someone is playing on our deepest fears.
It's like those songs are holding up a mirror to society, showing us the dark side of human nature, the potential for cruelty that exists in all of us.
Exactly. And that's why these songs are so powerful. They're not just catchy tunes, they're social commentaries, moral fables disguised as entertainment.
You know, it's funny, I never really thought about these songs in that way before. I just thought they were fun, catchy tunes. But now I'm seeing them in a whole new light. They're like these little nuggets of wisdom hidden within these epic Disney stories.
It's like they're saying, hey, while you're enjoying this fairy tale, here's a little something to think about. A little reminder about the complexities of life, the choices we make, and the consequences that follow.
Okay, so we've talked